So friends, we had come to up to a point, and then we had to stop because of the time frame, time limit. So almost half of the whole thing, but the main part. So I will try to cover some remaining part. As we have seen last time in the previous slide, that when you look at the statue, so there's such a calmness on the face of Buddha, the calmness of Nirvana. So an artist who wants to bring that, he or she also must be having at least some glimpse of that. So a shilpin or a sculptor was also required to undergo a very severe, or you can say very austere sadhana, and that is the case with every art, whether it is a music or dance or painting. Unless you undergo that penance, unless you undergo that sadhana, unless you do this riyaz regularly, no Indian art can be done, probably, because it is not out of some intellect, or it is not out of some imagination or a momentary idea. It is basically, as we said last time, it is a very serious effort to bring out the infinite through a media of finite. And unless the person has this type of aspiration as well as trained mind, he can not create it. In fact, if that is not there, he cannot even look at it and enjoy it. So to really appreciate Indian art, one has to be, to some extent, one has to be a sadhak, a person who himself is on the pursuit of paramartha or adhyatma marga. Then he will enjoy it. Only a materialist look at it only from the physical point of view, dissecting the composition of material and the dimensions of different parts cannot give you the idea. That is why architecture, sculpture or painting, these are the three great art forms which generally appeal to the spirit through eye, and each one has got some peculiarities, but they all try to bring the invisible out in Indian format. And the form, with its insistent mass, proportions, lines, colors, can only justify it to the service of something which is intangible, something which is beyond. It is as a servant to all these things, and it is just to remove the veil between us and the infinite. So Indian way of approaching the matter, we said matter itself is also a Brahman, but the way we approached it is just opposite pole of what is in the Western art. Here there is mass, color, shape, posture, a physical sensation, even a physical excitement, but sensuality. But all this is, it's only a means or a instrument to take us to something beyond. It is a hint, it is a suggestion. Firstly and lastly, it is not more than an instrument or a suggestion or a symbol, but is not in itself. If you stop your view, if you stop your rasagrana, your appreciation of the art at that point of time, then you have missed the whole crux of Indian art. That is very important, and that is why we have to go beyond to something which is inside, something which the artist is trying to show you. So that is why they say that don't look at my finger, look at the moon to which this finger is pointing. So that is one of the example which we often know, that when you keep on looking at the finger is only a pointer to that which is in the sky. It is pointing to it, it helps you, but it is not the end of it. And it is a passage, as we said, that to something which is limitless self, or the Mahanatma, which carries to us in the sea of its presence a living shape of itself, small in comparison to its own infinity, but it's sufficient by the power that informs the symbol to support some aspect of that. See, look at the cosmic dance of Nataraja, for example, or 1800 Durga, or look at the gigantic standing Buddha or sleeping Buddha in Ajanta. I will know that it is finite. Yes, it is a smaller image in comparison to what it is trying to project as a cosmic image, but still it is sufficient to give you that feeling. For a moment you forget that you are standing in front of a stone sculpture, or you are standing in front of a temple of Indian architecture. You just feel that you are in the cosmos, where galaxies after galaxies are getting churned to, serve something which is beyond these galaxies. So to get that idea of infinite, how somebody can understand infinite, because ultimately we are looking only through our physical eyes, and so long as we are only looking at it only physical eye and trying to understand the aesthetics of it, fine, because at that level also it is sufficiently great, beautiful and soothing. But what is important is we have to go one step further and try to understand that it is trying to reveal some secret. Who really deserves to know that secret? If you just go to it in aesthetic curiosity, or if you go to it with a critical, objective, scientific mind, you won't get that. You won't really get that. So that is why, a tourist, a casual tourist. I remember one such example. How the trained mind and the eye of the viewer also is important. When I saw Ellora first time, and this is so huge, so vast. Those who have seen it, they will know. It is a Ellora, or you take any example, you take Konark or Mamalapuram, or you take Madurai Meenakshi, or any example, Rameshwaram, you take Hampi. But whatever, once you see it, you are stunned. You don't know how the time how time has passed. 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours mean nothing. But with me, there was one more tourist, and when I was looking at the first cave and I was not able to finish the first one, he finished all 13 caves and he came back and he said, I done it. They are all more or less same. So I had a shock of my life that time. It doesn't matter. I was in the school that time, and he was some 50 plus person. Seems to be a very learned person, but it doesn't matter. What matters is, are you able to look at that as a passage to something beyond? Then the time will fly like anything. You will spend hours and sometimes months and sometimes years and still won't feel that you have sufficiently seen it. So that is why to spend such time and all, as I said before, it has to be a introspective mode, it has to be a meditative mode, and that is the reason why it has to be secluded on the mountains and somewhere away in the forests. And that is how Ajanta also was discovered. It was in the middle of the forest. Somebody just discovered when he had gone for hunting. And it is also important that when you try to see these images of Indian architecture, because we now know that it is a spiritual journey, so we should be able to see it in its totality. You should know, for example, let us say example like Srirangam or Madurai or Rameshwaram. These are the temple cities of India. So when you look at that, you should not just look at the architecture of the temple, you should also look at the surroundings. What all this entire village is supportive or supported by this temple. So the temple city has got a temple, but it has also got so much of surrounding structures, and you have to preserve that entire area. Unfortunately, not every time it is preserved. You see that just around the temple there are new buildings, and a lot of crowded places are there, markets are there, sometimes even movie posters are there. I was very pained to see something like this when I went to Madurai Meenakshi. I don't know latest what is there, if they have made it better, but we must know that not just the temple structure, but entire surrounding is part of that particular environment and the experience. So you should not miss it. Some temples you see, if they are secluded and fortunately not much fiddled with by the modern civilization, then you will find how the surrounding, the nature, the sky, the trees around it and the landscape, everything, it adds to that experience. So it is an experience of going to the cosmic spirit through earth. An Indian temple, Sri Aurobindo says, maybe for any godhead, doesn't matter, but it is ultimately altar raised to the divine self. It's a yajna. So as the yajna is, the flames go high in the sky, similarly the shikhar or the gopuram also goes high. You must be knowing that the structure of the temple is based on human body. So as the chakras are different chakras in the human body, go from the Muladhara chakra to the Sahasrara chakra. Similarly, temples also having same construction, that they go from passage to passage ultimately to the Garbhagriha, where you get the experience of this final chakras. And that is why we should know that this is a altar raised to the divine self. We should come for that experience. When we come to such a monument of Indian art, we should come to that. We should not come to see something rational, something, you are going to see something very, very much beyond your rational thinking, supra-rational. You must not just come to see something visible and sensible, but you should try to see something which goes innermost self. And art which starts from them as a first conception can only give us what it has to give, their touch, the nearness, the self disclosure. But then it goes much beyond, and then it's our job to really go there. As we said before sometime in the first part also, that all art reposes on some unity. It's a very important sentence. And therefore that is the first truth of any Indian temple architecture or the cave architecture or the sculpture. You see there is a sense of unity in that. And that is the reason to bring this unity out. There is so much of detailing, there is so much of multifarious, you can see multiple arms, multiple instruments, multiple ornaments, all this crowd together so that some significance can be brought, which is unitary. The experience of the image is unifying. It brings you one with the image. You try to become one with that entire. If you look at the example of Ravan Garvaharan, the very famous sculpture in many parts of India, including Ellora, Kailasa, then you will find that the Kailas, the Ravan moving it with his 10 heads and hands, 20 hands, and then Shiva and Shiva and the Parvati sitting on the top of the mountain, everybody running around. So it's as good as a huge, something like a film happening in front of you, and you become part of that drama. You become part of that. You see feelings on the face of everyone, the amusement on the face of Parvati, and the smile on the face of all-knowing smile on the face of Mahadeva, and the frustration on the face of Ravana, and ego. It's a fantastic oneness which you see in the multiple images, and citizens running here and there, not exactly sure what is happening. So that is a oneness which you can see in any example. If you take, you see the painting of Ajanta, where Buddha gets the feeling that there is so much of dukkha is there, pain is there, and it has to be renounced now. So you see the entire image is an image of giving you the feeling of oneness, and that pain is a pain of beyond. It's not a pain of Buddha's self-interest. So that disinterestedness of the infinity also very clearly visible on the entire image. And you can see some examples like Kalahasti and Snehachalam, and just look at the buildings, the way they are constructed, what is the surrounding, how it is unified with the sky and the landscape. So some examples like this. Just take these two images. This is not exactly exercise, because exercises are given in remaining PPTs, but this also you can just go through and find out how these two temples are surrounded, and some of these temples you can see here. And art of making in stone and bronze calls for a typical type of mind. If you look at sculpture versus sketching and painting, the first one requires a more composed and still and inflexible mind, and that's why in the olden times sculptures were more done. Now as the time flew, it is very difficult to have such a stability of mind, so much of patience. So a more fluid media, a more flexible media in the form of painting came. Unfortunately, not many paintings are still surviving, but it is very much there. Dance of Shiva, one of the greatest sculptures in the world, I will say, is a cosmic dance. And you look at the image, you see how different arms are balanced. What is a beautiful harmony in the arms? What are the four different arms carrying? The bhav on the face of Shiva. Today, quantum physicists like Frijo Capra also get inspired by this, and it is kept on outside many of the great scientific institutions, apart from religious institutions. And you will find this image being repeated several times in several forms, and in bronze, in stone, in folktale, in paintings. But it has captured the imagination of India and now imagination of the world. You'll find painting expressions are not that high, especially in the earlier times, except Ajanta and some other places in Padmanabh. Kerala also there are some painting you can see.